Hello, everybody. Oh boy, today's a rough one. Doesn't mean I'm going to stop. I wanted to do the video yesterday. My wife wound up not really feeling well, so I wound up with the boy, and then I wanted to be quiet to make sure that she can get some sleep. So, I did the chat on Flick. I got all the stuff out there, and it all worked out. If you're not on Flick, Flick app, Google Flick app, right? And then download it. And then the code, go to join the group. The code is bathrobeDFS. Very simple. Just like the YouTube name, I'm going to post the Flick app website for you guys because I do a lot. I do a lot through Flick. We do a lot of chatting. And it's a great way of, like an hour before, a slate goes off. So, 6 o'clock or so, I'll get on Flick, make sure I'm on Flick, and I'll be there answering questions people have, giving updates if I haven't given any updates. I will go over people's lineups if they have questions about lineups. I'll do, either ors if I like a stack better or not, or why I like pitchers better. I'll go over lists and everything. Eventually, what I'm going to be doing is having a members thing. I don't exactly know how it's going to work out, where I like send them via text or email or something an update every day with like my top stacks and my top pitchers after lineups go out, like maybe 5:30, 6 o'clock. So there's going to be some stuff coming down the pipe, but as of right now, I have a free app, Flick. It's wonderful. It's super fast. If you were on it and got bogged down by how slow it is a millionfold better. There's a lot of great people in it, and I really can't tell you enough how awesome it is. So, if you are watching this and you're not on Flick, get on Flick, because even if you're not chatting, we are talking throughout the day most days about a whole bunch of stuff. And the more people we get on there, the more conversation and the more we can all help each other out, which is the whole point of this, right? Like I've said from the beginning, I am not the be all end all. I am just a dude that does my research and has my opinions, right? That's as good as I'll ever get. Sometimes I'm really good. Sometimes, shit doesn't go so good. But the one thing I cannot deny is that together we are stronger, and that we can all learn and get better from each other if we all approach each other constructively and with love and respect. That's all I ask for, and that's what we do. So that being said, preface over, let's get into the early slate for today. Game 1 is the Astros and the Reds. Good afternoon, artists. How you doing today? Thank you for joining as always. The first game I got here is Astros and the Reds. This one is going to be a murder for the Astros. Garrett Cole is a much better pitcher than Tyler Mahle. The Astros are projected to win by almost a run and a half, and I would think that they do better than that. On top of that, the Astros are getting Jose Altuve back, which is just really, really bad news for all of the opponents of the Astros coming up. Not that Tony Kemp was doing poorly, because, he really wasn't. In all fairness to Tony Kemp, he did a very good job holding down the fort for a while. But I don't think anyone would say that Tony Kemp is, anything but a significant downgrade. I don't think anyone could argue that almost everybody in the major leagues that play second base is a significant downgrade from Jose Altuve. So the Astros are a very good team today. I like them a lot. I have no problem playing someone like Altuve fresh off of injury. I know a lot of people will not, but that will reduce ownership, and I have no problem taking Altuve at lower ownership. Not that he'll be low owned, but he'll be lower owned than he should be. Batting third, going against Tyler Mahle for a team that's going to score 5 runs today. So Give me the Astros stack. They're not my favorite stack of the day. There is a stack, and we will get to it in 1, 2, 3, 4 games. That is overwhelmingly the best stack of the day, and we have it on the early slate. If you're not playing 5 of these dudes today, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. I was on them yesterday. They scored 16 runs, if you want a hint of who's coming up. On the other side, we have Garrett Cole. Garrett Cole is a great pitcher. I don't, he was my choice preseason to win the Cy Young in the American League. So the amount that I love and respect Garrett Cole as a major league pitcher shouldn't be in doubt. But if I was playing FanDuel, I don't think I'd be able to get to 12,000 for him without severely handicapping my lineup. And then on DraftKings, I think you could pay up here to be contrarian, right? I don't know if, given the bats that I want to have here, if I want to pay up for Garrett Cole, but I think that given how small the slate is and how sparse the batting options will be, especially the cheaper ones, I think that Garrett Cole's ownership is going to be significantly less than it normally would be on a smaller slate when he is overwhelmingly the best pitcher. So, Votto's out of the lineup. That's a plus for Garrett Cole. Iglesias is back. That's a plus for Garrett Cole. Other than that, this is, a decent Reds lineup. Not a single batter in this lineup is cold. Senzel leading off with Winker, Suarez, Dietrich, Puig, Iglesias, Peraza, and Casali. Casali's also been hot. So again, it's not like the Reds lineup is devoid of good bats. It's not like they are all cold. It's not like everything sets up for Garrett Cole to have, a complete game shutout with 15 strikeouts, but that certainly is his upside. And no one else on this slate really has that, especially given the teams that they're going against. You could argue Snell, and I would say that, given the price, that's the guy I'm going to go to, but I don't think that opponent-wise, excuse me, Snell has the matchup-specific upside. If you read my basketball articles, you know that that's something I talk about, the matchup-specific ceiling a lot. I don't think that the matchup-specific ceiling for Snell is going to be nearly as high as Garrett Cole, but you get 2,000 savings on him. So that's something we'll talk about in a little bit. In summary, Baltimore did not switch their starter to a righty. It is an opener. Jacob Eunice, Yakarua, yeah, what the hell's his name? Jimmy Jacobonis. Jimmy Jacobonis is the opener today. The Baltimore long reliever, the guy who's going to be getting the bulk of the inning, is still Josh Rogers, the lefty. So don't plan. No, it's fine. I had to double check it as well, John. When I was doing all my lineup updates, everybody switched to Jacobonis, and I wondered if, not that it would change how much I like the A's, because they're both awful. But now it's even worse because it's just an awful pitcher going off to an awful pitcher. So yeah, it really doesn't affect anything when it all comes down to it, given how poor both of those pitchers are. But yes, Baltimore did decide to go with an opener today. You are right. And I did make the same, oh no, I'm going to have to get off of, not get off of, but completely change my projected lineup and everything. But Rogers is still going to get the bulk of the innings. He's the whatever the fuck it is. Pitcher, the starter. I'm going to take it back. He's still the starter. They're the opener and then the starter. So they got the opener and then the normal guy. Anyway, summing up, and you never have to apologize, John. That's you gave. It's not like you were wrong. The opener is still a righty now, but it's a righty that's opening. So anyway, in summary, Garrett Cole, best pitcher on the slate, in the best spot on the slate, but the price is pretty prohibitive, which means that you're going to get a chance to pay up to be contrarian, pay up to get an overpriced but under-owned ace. And I think that if you are able to do that, if you don't mind sacrificing some pitching or some bats somewhere, Garrett Cole's a really good play today. Really, really good play today. I love Snell. I don't think anyone can argue that Snell's great, but I don't think anyone's going to be able to touch Cole versus the Reds on this small slate. And then again, the Astros bats would probably be my third favorite stack, given everything. They're still a little far down there, but I think Altuve is going to be significantly under-owned. Again, a lot of people avoid people coming back from injury. So we're going to be able to get a really nice lineup with really good hitters that are projected to get a lot of runs at lower than they should be. So do not ignore the Astros, especially if you're playing, if you're playing 3 lineups, one of those lineups should have an Astro stack. That's how serious I am. One should be the Oakland A's, one should probably be the Nationals, one should be the Astros. But let's move on to the next game because that is Phillies and Nats. The Phillies have Zach Eflin and the Nats have Patrick Corbin. About 10 minutes ago, finally, the Vegas line came out for this game. The Phillies are projected to get 4 runs and the Nats are projected to get 5.5. That is not, too crazy. When I did my math for the projections yesterday, I obviously used Vegas totals because if you don't, why are you bothering to do projections? And I had it like 4.3 to 5.2. So it's, a little more of a gap than I had expected, but still, the Nationals are expected to win this pretty handily. The Phillies do get Real Muto back, which is a nice boost to their lineup as a whole, but they also have Segura leading off, who has been ice cold lately. And then after Real Muto, you still have, Rodriguez, Roman Quinn, and Cesar Hernandez, none of which are good. Hernandez especially is exceptionally cold. I don't think Quinn has had an at-bat in the last week because he did not show up when I was looking at hot cold. And if someone doesn't show up, that means they're not even letting him hit then. So he's worse than cold. He is so bad they don't even give him an at-bat a week. So Patrick Corbin looks good. He is an ace caliber pitcher whose recent form this whole season, not just over the last couple weeks, which has also been really bad, whose recent form has caused his price to go down from 10,000 plus, where it was at the beginning of the season, to the the lower 8,000s. With the Phillies lineup that they are playing for the first game of this doubleheader, and the fact that they have spent like 8 hours in the dugout in the clubhouse the last few days waiting for rain delays to finish before not being able to really do anything, I am a big fan of pitching, more so in this game than I would be, which means that while I'm not a big fan of Eflin, so don't get me wrong, I still want the Nats stack, I do like Corbin more than I normally would. Again, especially looking at the bottom of that Phillies lineup and the fact that they're projected to get one of the lowest totals on the board. So Patrick Corbin on FanDuel, I wouldn't go there, right? Patrick Corbin on FanDuel is 9,400. That's a lot more expensive than similarly projected pitchers, right? But on DraftKings at 8,200, I don't know how you can pass that up in GPPs or even in cash. I think that there is, a floor there that should give you some pause. Again, if you look at recent form, it is not a slam dunk by any means, but Patrick Corbin is, again, an ace caliber pitcher coming off, a Cy Young caliber season, and he is definitely someone who could get you 30 DKP. Well, let me go into my specific projections here for you. All right. I don't have them up for non-members anymore, so I have no problem doing it while I do the video for you guys. Excuse me. Feels like something's caught my throat. Sorry, it takes a second to load here, but it's easier if I do it from the web page. This is the way I have it all meted out. All right. So if we look at the pitchers for today, for the excuse me, if we look at the pitchers for today for the morning slate, Corbin is 9,400 for Corbin on FanDuel, right? He's projected to get about 17.5 points by my projections, which is a value of about 1.9. You could go to, let's see, about 9,400. You could go to Snell for 400 more. I have Snell projected to get about 31 DKP. You could go down to Eflin, and even though Washington is going to do better, Eflin is projected to get another couple points more than Corbin. So again, on DraftKings, I'm not going to do that for 900 more, but on FanDuel, when you can save 600 and take Eflin, who again has been in better form lately, I really don't have any problem doing that. Alternately, you could just go down. Chris Bassett is projected to get 30-something points against Baltimore today, and he's only 6,900 on FanDuel. So if you're just looking holistically at the early slate on FanDuel and you're looking for that one pitcher, I love paying up for Cole. Like I said, I think you're going to be able to separate yourself from the field by paying up for Cole, because people are going to be looking at those other pitchers. If you want to go to the median price tier, I would do Snell at the 9,800. I definitely would like him better than Corbin for a similar price. But if you're, overall on FanDuel, the 6,900 for Bassett is just too good to pass up. I mean, he's 8,000 on DraftKings and 6,900 on FanDuel. So that should show you enough, when Corbin is 1,200 cheaper on DraftKings and then Bassett is 1,100 cheaper on FanDuel. They really messed up the pricing for both of those on both of those sites. No problem, Adam. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to answer questions primarily. That's ask away, my friends. That is what I'm here. So again, to summarize, Corbin is someone on DraftKings I wouldn't mind taking a chance on because he's cheap enough and he's mispriced for his upside, though I do not have faith in him, right? On the other side, Eflin is someone who has been in good form and is overpriced on DraftKings. I would say he's priced fairly on FanDuel at the 8,800 for the one pitcher and everything. But still, given the 5.5 run projection for the Nationals and the fact that their 1 through 5 have been pretty damn hot lately, I would be more on getting the 1 through 5 Washington stack or, some variation therein. You could go mini stack and get 2 or 3 of them, take some one-offs if you want to take some one-offs. But I really do love Turner, Eaton, Rendon, and Adams, with Soto coming in a tier below those 4. So, I would focus on those 4 first, and then Soto after. I would avoid Dozier, Parra, and Gomes. The 3 of them have been absolutely awful, and if anything, would give me cause. Like I was talking about the bottom of the Phillies lineup being terrible, the bottom of the Nats lineup is also absolutely awful. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are easy outs. So while Eflin is going to have his hands full with the 1 through 5, that 6 through 9 is going to be a lot easier on him. So while I don't recommend him at that price, if you are doing the 150 for the afternoon slate here, and I often like to give that advice, if you play 150, don't ignore Zach Eflin. He is not someone to be written off. There are a couple pitchers that I really wouldn't play. Weenix says, I was thinking Cole and Bassett when I looked at the early slate. Think I'll stick to it, going with a 4-4 Washington and Tampa Bay stack. Absolutely love that. And I think that'll separate you from the field as well. Like I said, I think Cole is going to be too expensive that people aren't going to want to pay up for him. And I think that the overwhelming amount of ownership is going to go to Oakland for good reason, though. But alternately, Tampa Bay, and I'm going to get to them right now. I love stacking against Sabathia. He has those flashes every once in a while. Tampa Bay's been cold lately, but I just think that's going to work to lower their ownership more than it should be. And Jamie, I will answer that when I get to the Padres, and I will specifically ask that question. So I think that sums up that. I do love the Nats stack. Eflin's like a deep GPP play. Corbin's a GPP play, even a cash play given the price, but not someone I am prioritizing, especially on FanDuel where I would avoid him. Next game up is the Rays at the Yankees. Here we have Blake Snell taking on CC Sabathia. I talked before, Blake Snell is the reigning Cy Young Award winner. He is a fantastic pitcher. He has the upside of pretty much everybody else in the major leagues. He can get you a complete game shutout with 15 strikeouts, just like the best of the best pitchers. That's basically like, the if you get that, you're at 45 or so points on DraftKings. I would consider that pretty much a ceiling game for most people. Most people aren't going to get. Yeah, I think, from what I looked at, I think all of these games are going to be playable. AJ asked, rain for the New York Yankees, is this game going to be playable? I'm going to go and look at the hourly again. I did look at it earlier in the day, but I do believe that all of these games are going to be able to play. I live in the Northeast, and I can tell you that around 2, 3 o'clock, the storms are going to like really kick it in and start to flare up. As of right now, if you were looking at the radar, right, you would see almost nothing in the Northeast except for a few scattered thunderstorms making their way around. But as you know, if you follow weather, as the day progresses and everything, works its magic in the atmosphere, the rain kind of explodes out of nowhere. So what we will see around 2, 3 o'clock starting in the mid-Atlantic is the rain kind of filling out over the region. So I think that the games are going to start early enough that they'll be able to get almost the whole thing in before there's any delay. So you don't really have to worry about pitching, which would be the main concern. And then the games are starting early enough and the rain is going to be scattered enough with those thunderstorms, flaring up and then, filling out around them, that even if they have to do a lengthy delay, they'll just be able to finish getting this game in. I was listening to a baseball analyst the other day talk about how Major League Baseball made it a priority to tell the umpires, we want these games finished. Like, don't call rain if you can help it. Try to play every game that day, do everything you can to do it. And we've seen over the first few months of the season or what have you, we've seen some weird decisions in terms of whether or not to play a game that they knew was going to rain, or not call the game early, where in previous years, 3 or 4 o'clock, the game would be called and they'd send everybody home. They wouldn't make teams, wait till 10 or 11 before giving up on what was a hopeless situation. Absolutely, AJ, that's what I'm here for. Now what we see is, and you could watch, specifically a Mets game over the last couple of weeks, because there were 2 examples of this in the last week and a half, which is very interesting, where the grounds crew started to bring the tarp on the field, and then they stopped midway and decided, oh yeah, no, the rain stopped a little bit, so let's pull it back. Normally you pull the tarp out when you know that rain's coming and it's not going to be avoided. Like, they have the radar, they plan it. It's not just, oh, it's raining, let's pull the tarp, right? They know, oh, this is going to be a really quick storm, let's not worry about it, or this is going to be an actual deal that we have to deal with, so let's get the tarp out. We've seen a lot more indecisiveness, and I think that comes from the edict that baseball gave to the umpires. We want to finish these games. So I think that the game's going to start. I think we shouldn't have any problem finishing any of the early games. It's the games tonight on the East Coast that give me real cause for concern. If they're going to wind up playing those games, they're not going to wind up playing those games for hours after. And that does worry me, but I'll get into that later on. And again, my pleasure, AJ. It's always my pleasure. I'm here to answer questions. That's what I love doing. So we have the Rays and the Yankees. Again, there's a chance of rain through the game. I think that it will be fine. I don't think that the delay will come early enough that we need to fade Snell or Sabathia if you're insane. And I don't think that there's a chance that it'll get postponed. Once they start, they'll just wait for the rain, and there'll be enough breaks that they'll be able to play through it. So I don't think we need to worry about the bats either if you're going to play the bats. Pardon me. So we have Sabathia, who's a terrible pitcher, who's been in bad form. I haven't gone over any specifics with you guys yet. This was yesterday's. Hey, DJ, how you been? I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's a tough day, but, I'm alive, and that's beautiful, right? Got to appreciate what you got. That's funny. I guess Sean Rodriguez pitched an inning, so now he's being listed, and Tyler White must have pitched an inning too. Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so we got CC Sabathia over the last couple weeks, 7.4 strikeouts per nine, not terrible. 3.7 walks per nine, that is pretty bad. 1.9 home runs per nine, that's pretty bad. 2.17 whip. Oh, I can just stop there, right? I know that he's been unlucky with the 469 BABIP against him. But, when you look at the reflection of that, the 8.4 ERA goes down to like a 5.5 FIP. So Sabathia is a bad pitcher who's been pitching poorly, and the Rays have a really good lineup against less. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Austin Meadows is when all is said and done, and when the sample size is enough, we're going to see Austin Meadows emerge with either no splits or reverse splits, because that dude mashes lefties. As of right now, I have him listed as no splits. I just did a full update on splits a couple of weeks ago when I was doing the projections. I added all of the splits information to projections. So now every batter gets the splits weight against the pitcher, and then the pitcher gets their splits weight against the batter, pretty much for every at bat that the batter is going to get against that pitcher. So, if let's take, for example, Cameron Maybin is going against Blake Snell. Cameron Maybin is an extreme normal splits righty, so he gets a bonus against Snell, and Snell is no splits, so that's even, right? Sabathia is an extreme normal splits righty. Guillermo Heredia is an extreme normal splits, excuse me, I misspoke. Sabathia is an extreme normal splits lefty. Take d'Arnaud, a normal splits righty, he gets a boost. Avisail Garcia, a normal splits righty, gets a boost. Guillermo Heredia, an extreme normal splits righty, gets a double boost, because not only does he line up well, but the pitcher lines up poorly against him. So it's the additive effect, like when a reverse splits guy goes against a reverse splits guy, although I love that even more. But explanation aside, what you have is Sabathia, who is a poor pitcher, aging, doing poorly lately, going against a Tampa Bay Rays team that has a really good amount of righty power, especially at the top, and for far too cheap. You can get d'Arnaud 3,500, Pham, who I love, should be over 5,000, 4,700, only 3,900 on FanDuel. Austin Meadows 5,400. No one is going to play him lefty on lefty. Would love to get him if you're playing a Tampa Bay stack, but I understand not being able to afford it, Wienik. Adams, 3,400. Guillermo Heredia, 3,200, and they only have him to hit lefties. Daniel Robertson, 2,600 on DraftKings, and he's a righty that they only use to face lefties. So, while I wouldn't say Heredia and Robertson are safe plays, I wouldn't say, I would lock them in as one-offs. I would say that if you are trying to play a Garrett Cole lineup today, they are fantastic options at the very bottom of the price spectrum that are going to be projected to score some runs against a really bad pitcher. So while, again, not the best stack in the world, Tampa Bay would certainly be up there in consideration. Sabathia really is that poor, and you really can get some good value here from some righties that really do mash. I've explained it before. When you have specialists, right? When you have a lefty that only plays against righties, it doesn't show as much because you get righties all the time. Their price is generally consistent. But when you have a righty batter that only plays against lefties, he winds up only playing, 1, 2, maybe 3 games a week, right? That person is going to be priced at significantly lower than someone who plays every day because they do not produce as much and they're not given as much opportunity. That does not mean that they are unplayable. It means that when we get those kinds of situations, we should be over the field because they are underpriced for their upside and for their projection. So, someone like a Guillermo Heredia, someone like a Daniel Robertson, while again, you may not love them, while they may not be the best hitters in the world, and anyone who tells you otherwise is a Tampa Bay Rays fan, they are still good enough against lefties going against a bad enough lefty that I can understand going there. The one bit of caution that I will give you is the Yankees bullpen is really, really good. So, I do like to consider that. And when I do everything, I do consider bullpens as rarely as I may talk about them in the video. But that is something that may be a significant tiebreaker today. While the Rays, if the Rays chase Sabathia after 3 or 4 innings, that's a lot of innings they're going to get against some really, really good relievers. It's not like, if the Phillies chase Corbin, and they get to go against the second worst bullpen in the major leagues. If the Rays chase Sabathia, that's a bullpen that's going to be able to get them out. So, again, I do love the Rays, but just be cautious that even if they do come out of the gate on fire, the 4th through 9th innings may be bupkis. So, on the other side, we have Blake Snell. The Yankees are resting Stanton. Thank God. That makes Snell playable because Stanton is one of the best premier lefty mashers in all of Major League Baseball. He is someone, and I do not exaggerate when I say this. Like Arenado and Story, if they are going against a lefty, try to lock them in. You may not be able to, but try. Do everything you can. Do everything you can because those guys against lefties are murder. Stanton better than Arenado and Story. So number one for me, anytime Stanton goes against a lefty, I lock him in. So of course, Stanton comes back game 2. He must be really tired because they are resting him against a lefty. And now the Yankees are projected to lose, but that's fine. Blake Snell's a great pitcher. I would say, like I said, he has the objective ceiling of a Garrett Cole, but the matchup specific ceiling, I would say, is lower, but you get a $2,000 saving. So I would not mind taking that bump, or excuse me, the downgrade to Snell in terms of the matchup and in terms of everything else, and eat that price difference so that I can spend up on some of the other bats that I really want today. So if I am looking ace, I'm going to spend up, like I said, to differentiate myself with Cole. But if I really want to get the bats that I want today, if I want to get 5 Oakland dudes and some other guys, I would not mind going to Snell as my ace. The Yankees, while a fantastic offense, strike out enough, especially with the guys that they have going today. I have no problem whatsoever taking a good run on Snell. Sorry again. I hate having to do anything while I'm doing the video. Let's go to the 4th and second to last game. Excuse me. We have the Orioles and the A's. This one is, I want as much A's exposure as I can get. Period. And I mean that. Literally every single person. If I were playing, then this is me, right? If I were playing 20 lineups today, 10 of those lineups would be variations around 5 or 4 A's. I would have done it yesterday too when they scored 16 runs, and I made money yesterday because the A's were my stack. Even though a couple of my batters got zeros, I loved Laureano. He got 33 points. I'm going to love him again today, and he's probably going to bat 5th again, and no one's going to be on him because who the hell's Ramon Laureano? He's someone that's crushing the ball lately. Crushing the ball. And on top of that, they're going against, I am playing the early slate E-Rush, and I'm doing exactly what I'm telling you. 5 Oakland A's. That is the priority. Jimmy Yacobonis is opening, and they're going to Josh Rogers. Yacobonis and Rogers are about as bad as it gets. I'm not exaggerating. Baltimore is already the worst pitching staff in baseball. They give up more home runs than almost anybody I've ever seen. I know part of that is the juiced ball, but yeah, this is exactly what I mean, AJ. Oakland hits lefties very well, and Josh Rogers is going to get murdered. Honestly, even if they get Rogers out after 2 innings and they only go against righties for the entire rest of the game, they're still going to score, 12, 13 runs today. If I was in Vegas, or if I lived in a place that allowed sports betting, I would bet the over on this game confidently, just because I think that the A's are going to get over the 9.5 game total. Chris Bassett could throw a shutout, and I still think that the game would go over the total. That is how bad the O's pitching is today. And then giving up 16 runs yesterday means that the already horrible bullpen and pitching staff is even weaker and thinner than it would have been. So literally anything and everything lines up for not just playing the Oakland A's today, but for playing as much of the Oakland A's as is mathematically feasible. You still want to broaden your exposure because anything can happen. It's baseball, right? But we need to, they can have I would say an earthquake hitting Oakland and stopping the game from being played is more likely than I do have Bassett doing better than Davies. I have Bassett today as one of the best pitchers, period. I will go to my projections again because I have them right here. As of right now, I have on the early slate, Chris Bassett getting 16.9 DK points for 2.1 value and 35.17 FanDuel points for 5.1 value. That's because I project Bassett to not only get a win but also a quality start. So, given everything, Baltimore having a 3.2 total, Oakland projected to win by 3 runs. I have Bassett in the catbird seat, if you will. There's only one pitcher I have on this slate that's projected to have better value than Bassett on DraftKings, and that is Garrett Cole, who I projected to get 27.14 DraftKings points for 2.4 value. But on FanDuel, no one touches him. No one's even close. No one is even in the 4 times value. The closest is Garrett Cole again at 3.9. So you have a 5.1 times value in Bassett, and then down all the way to Garrett Cole at 3.9, which is great. But Bassett is far and away my favorite on FanDuel. I will. Yeah, O's on the road. Play just stack up whoever. I'm going to go over that right now. So the A's are going to. I would like to do this ideally. Excuse me. After the lineup comes out officially, because I'm not 100% sure. The A's like to play weird when it comes to a lefty. Sometimes they put Canha second. Sometimes they put Canha fifth. They'll move Davis up. They'll move Olsen down. As I have it right now, I have Semien, Canha, Chapman, Davis, Pinder, Olsen, Laureano, Piscotty, and Fegley. If that is the case, my 2 favorite plays are going to be Semien and Laureano, both for the splits and for recent form. Although Laureano has shown reverse splits, that has actually started to change. And when the sample size increases, we may see that change at the All-Star break. But as of right now, he's still in reverse territory. But give me all the Semien, give me the Laureano because of recent form. If Canha is batting second, I would definitely prioritize him. He is a lefty masher. And then Chris Davis should never be 4,000 with his upside. Chris Davis is one of the premier power hitters in the game. I don't need to tell you all that. If you're watching this, you already know that probably. So I would say in order: Semien, Laureano, Kanha if he is batting second, then Davis. And then what I really would like to do here, because I assume he's going to be batting in the top six, is get Matt Olson, the lefty first baseman, in. As I've talked about, people are hesitant to be on lefty, although it might be a little more alleviated today because of the opener that's a righty. But I feel like a lot of people are going to ignore Olson because the main pitcher is a lefty. But he may get one at bat against Rogers, and most of the other time he's going to be going against dudes that he's going to be able to crush. And he has been in great form lately, while not hot, in really great form. So that being said, there is not a single Oakland A that I would advise against playing. The closest I would advise against playing is Stephen Piscotty. Over the last week, he has a batting average of 0.77 with a 451 OPS and a 189 WOBA. So, he is about as cold as anything, but nobody else really on the A's is in much danger as far as I'm concerned, with necessitating a fade. You have Laureano with a 1.115 OPS and a WOBA of 454 with an ISO of 423 over the last week. Semien 1.012 OPS with a 423 WOBA. Fegley 899 OPS with a 401 WOBA. Chapman 906 OPS with a 381 WOBA. Chris Davis 875 OPS with a 365 WOBA. Grossman 950. I mean, basically everybody that's projected in this lineup, the first six dudes are doing well lately, while not hot, are good enough that I have no problem taking literally anybody. And then, as much as I like d'Arnaud leading off, if you want to go with Fegley at 3,800, he has shown 2 home run power this season, and I have no problem taking him to complete your stack. And then Bassett is going to be one of my favorite pitchers on the slate. DraftKings, I love him. FanDuel, he's out of this world. Absolutely my number one play for the value. The fact that he's 6,900 has to be some kind of pricing error, because there's nothing in recent form or anything that indicates he should be that cheap. It really is that simple too. I will make note of one thing, because this is always important. As much as I love Bassett, there is a one-off that I would love to take against him, Trey Mancini. I've talked about this before. If you have a smaller slate, 5 or fewer games is generally what I look at. I will set it so that I can take one batter against an opposing pitcher. So if I am playing Bassett, I will be able to take one batter against him. And in this case, we have Bassett, who is a reverse splits righty, going against Trey Mancini, who is a fantastic hitter, has been hot as anything lately, and is a reverse splits righty. So I love that additive effect. Absolutely love Mancini today. But again, overwhelmingly, I will be on Bassett more than anything else. And then the final game for this early slate, I think I've gone like 45 minutes. So I don't know how much of the night slate I'm going to talk about. I might have to do a second video later, because goddamn, that is a lot of time talking and my throat hurts. Final game of the early slate is Milwaukee and San Diego. Again, no official lineups, so there's nothing that I can talk about as concretely as I would like. But I will assume that my projected lineups are close enough, because generally they are. So here we have Davies and Strom, and this is basically, I don't often have games like this, but this is really one of those like stay away type games, right? Like Davies is a mediocre pitcher and Strom is a mediocre pitcher, but both of them are good enough at stopping runs, right? Neither of them are the type that get blown out often. Granted, they could get blown out, especially Milwaukee, who's a fantastic offense against everybody. But neither are projected to get over 4 runs really. So this is a game where if you are doing the 150, I can check if it's out for you, E-Rush. Although they normally don't have that for early slate. They only have the night slate information, but I can let you know if it is up. I like Strom as a pitcher. Yeah, they do not. I apologize, E-Rush. I have no idea. I'm going to guess that Strom is going to be under-owned for what you think. I don't particularly like him, but let's dive into it more as I would like to do. If you look at the projected Brewers lineup, you have Kane, Braun, Hernan Perez, and Orlando Arcia, who have all been very, very cold lately. The only 2 hot batters on the Brewers are Moustakas and Aguilar, and you can never really trust Aguilar. Milwaukee is one of the best offenses in baseball. I mean, it's flat out one of the best offenses of baseball, and Matt Strom is a good pitcher, but he's not like a great pitcher. He has decent success, but he's not, E-Rush here. This is what I'm talking about, right? So over the last couple weeks, which is how I do hot cold for pitchers, Strom's strikeouts per 9 is 10.8. That's really good. His walks per 9 is 10.8. That's insane. His home runs per 9 is 5.4, which is almost double the next closest person. All right. His whip over the last 2 weeks is 3.3. His ERA, 16.2 with a 12.17 FIP. All right. And it's not much better when you get to the XFIP of 7.84. Strom is a mediocre pitcher who can get shelled by really good offenses, right? I am staying away from the Brewers, especially with Strom at home in that ballpark. But you have to understand that it is not a very safe play, right? If you're going to go that cheap, let's see if there's even someone I would consider that cheap. If you're going to go that cheap, I would honestly just sacrifice 1 bat for the 1100 and go up to Bassett. And if you're already playing Bassett, good luck to you, honestly, because that's the best I can tell you. Good luck. Go up to Corbin and take a chance at 8,200. But I would say that, and this is what I was saying before. This is one where if I'm playing a single lineup, I'm not going anywhere on this game. I'm not going to play Davies. I'm not going to play Strom. I'm not going to play any of the bats. It's not that they can't perform, right? It's that why would I take either one of these stacks when I have the Oakland A's, who I think are going to score 11 or 12 runs, right? When I have the Rays going against CC Sabathia, when I have, the Astros getting Altuve back going against a very poor pitcher in Tyler Mahle. These are not, okay, then that makes a lot more sense, E-Rush. If you're MMEing, and this is what I'm getting at, single entry, no thank you, right? If I'm MMEing, I like to make stands, and by making those stands, it helps to differentiate myself from the field. So sometimes, I will be on one pitcher, and that means I will have 0 of the offense against it. Sometimes it doesn't work out for me. Most of the time it does, right? Granted, I don't MME that much anymore because I'm doing all this, but that being said, I know what I've done, and I know what the success rate is. If I was MMEing, I would have basically split ownership of the pitchers and the hitters from this game, right? So let's say I'm playing 150, right? So I would have maybe 10 lineups with Davies, 10 lineups with Strom, 10 lineups with Brewers stack, 10 lineups with the Padres stack. I don't know if that's exactly the ratio I would have it. I would have to do the work. Again, because it's a 5-game slate, it might be slightly higher, slightly lower. It depends on where the math comes in, and I have all that that I would have to do all that work. But that being said, this isn't one where I'm really leaning even more towards one side. I like the Brewers slightly more than Strom, but not enough that I think it's a slam dunk. I think they're going to be over-owned for that. And I think that Strom is going to be under-owned because of his recent form. But that being said, I don't trust him to get, 10 DKP. If you look at my projections here, which you may be able to do, I have Strom projected to get 8.08 and Davies to get 8.94. There's literally no reason to go there. And then the offense is much the same. If you go to if you are a paid member for the and you get the what's it called, basically almost nobody in either of these lineups is projected to get 2 times value. Meanwhile, you have Oakland and the Yankees, the Nationals have people projected to get almost 20 DKP. Certainly he's going to get 20 DKP in this opening game today. I don't know how I have him at 21 DKP, but Matt Adams is going to do well. No. Yelich is never out of the question. No. And that's what I'm saying, Adam. I don't like, but I don't dislike, right? This is a game where if I playing one lineup, I am not playing them. But if I was mass entering, or if I was in your spot and that's where you have the money that lines up, or you like them better than I do, I wouldn't mind going to them, right? It's just that it's 2 mediocre pitchers in an incredible pitcher's park going against, colder offenses or underperforming offenses that are not projected to get a lot of runs. It's like a toss-up. Both of them are going to get 4. And that's just not something I'm going to target when the A's are going to have, 6.5 on their own. So I don't think Yelich is ever a bad play. Yelich, there are certain people that you can play as one-offs every day, no matter what. Yelich is one of them. Trout is one of them. Any of those crazy power hitters that are going to hit 300 are on the docket every single day. One-offs every single day. 4 Oakland bats. Then Adam Jones, I like it. I really do like that a lot. That's not a bad construction. If you can get 4 Oakland bats, because Bassett is so cheap, right? It's just incredible what you can do on FanDuel today with Bassett at 6,900. You can get the full stack of Oakland. Yeah, it's fantastic. So yeah, I think that is going to wrap that up because, I hate to not give a lot of information, but look at the lineups page. So much pink. These pitchers are decent, not pitching well against offenses that have not been doing well. I will say I had a Padres question before, so let's go back to that. Jamie Campbell asked earlier, when you get to the Padres, what are your thoughts on a Padres stack mix of Renfroe, Reyes, Machado, Tatis, and Hedges? So I would say, to answer your question, Jamie Campbell, Reyes has moved from second in the lineup to sixth in the lineup because of how badly he's been lately. Austin Hedges has seen his price go from 4,000 to 2,700. He's going to be in the Martin Maldonado range soon because his batting average is like under 100. His OPS has been under 300 for the last couple of weeks now. So we have, of those 5 guys, 2 people who I would not play. Then we have Renfroe, Machado, and Tatis, all of whom are really hot. So again, while I'm not targeting them myself, if I were going to play Padres, if I was MMEing, or if I, like the Padres today against a poor pitching Zach Davies, I would focus on Tatis, Machado, and Renfroe first and foremost. I would not mind just playing a 3-person mini stack with them and not going anywhere else. If I am going anywhere else, though, I have no problem with Hosmer, Naylor, or assuming he plays Greg Garcia. No problem, Jamie. That's what I'm here for. All right. That being said, what I'm going to do really quickly, in case you're playing Showdown, is I'm going to go over the Royals Mariners game. Twitter yesterday. My wife is not working the night job. Like before she starts doing the night job every day in July, they gave her like 2 weeks off to get all the stuff in order. So she has off in the evenings these next couple of weeks, which means tonight her plan is to go to the gym and take my son. And I believe the class she's going to is like 6:40, which means she would leave the house about 6:15, which means I'm just going to be sitting on my ass for 45 minutes before lock goes off. So I think what my plan is for right now, and I apologize if this doesn't come to fruition, and I'm going to give you a summary of the night slate right now, just in case. But my plan is going to be at around 6:15 or so. To do like a Periscope video. Either way, follow me on Twitter if you're not already at bathrobeDFS, and I will let you all know there on Twitter in what format the video is going to be. Which guy? I don't know which guy. So I don't know. I think he means me, at which point I'm not sure. I don't think I'm a phony. Like I'm breathing and I have blood in me. Like that was blood right there. There's like a big cat scratch over there. You see that one? Look at that. That dude, JJ got me real good. I have a cat named JJ Watt, not named after the football player, believe it or not. DJ, if it's baseball, I never play cash in baseball. And I explained this in one of the first videos I did. Baseball is a sport of failure, right? You can have the best hitter in the world get a 0 multiple games in a row, and it happens all the time. So because of that, cash is just as risky as GPPs in a lot of ways. So if I'm going to take that risk, I would rather take that risk with the upside of winning a tournament than, taking that risk, building your lineup, playing it in cash and having it be, that's the time when, you get 12 home runs and you score 215 DKP and you wind up getting, $1 because you did a 50-cent double up, right? So, in basketball, in football, in sports where, there's a usage component that you can, somewhat predict, how much they're going to be involved and what that involvement means. In baseball, you can strike out every time you get up, even if you're going against the worst pitcher in the world. Jimmy Yacobonis and, everybody else on Baltimore can still get Chris Davis out 4 times, even if the A's score 15 runs. So for cash games, I stick to cash games in sports that are more predictable and have less risk. Any sport that has the inherent risk of baseball, I try to stick to tournaments that reward that risk. So that would be GPPs. So I hope that answers that question. So again, I'm going to do the video later for the night slate. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go over, home run call of the day, Chris Davis for the morning slate. I'm going to go over Royals Mariners, right? Thank you. Oh, why? Oh, is the game on the rain delay already? Why did it? Yeah, the Reds game is going to start in a delay. I don't think that's going to be a problem. It's going to move east. And let me double check that though, because I want to make sure. And if they're already announcing it's going to start in a delay, yeah, it's going to clear up in Cincinnati by about 1 p.m. So that's the smart move. Start in the delay, and then you'll start like a half hour to an hour late. It shouldn't be a problem whatsoever. I really don't think any of these afternoon games are going to cause much of a concern. I think there are a couple in the Midwest that are going to be tonight, but I will get to that later on. So let's again look at the Kansas City-Seattle game really quickly in case anyone's playing the showdown or playing a showdown. If there is a showdown, I don't really even know. So here we have Brad Keller against Marco Gonzalez. That means that if I'm playing the showdown, I'm probably going to go 6 batters. A bad pitcher in really bad form lately, and this is a Royals lineup that is underrated against lefties. They're not as bad as you would think. I don't think Mondesi is going to play, which is going to be worse for them. He got injured yesterday. I still have him in because I haven't seen anything to indicate otherwise, but he's considered day-to-day basically, and he's a lefty masher too. But that being considered, you have Merrifield, Soler, Cuthbert, and Bonifacio, all of whom are fantastic against lefties. So I would focus on those 4 and getting one of those 4 as my captain. My preference would be Soler, given his recent form and his success against lefties. Just everything matches, everything lines up more so for Soler to have success than other people. Secondarily, if you don't want to play Soler, I would play Whit Merrifield. He has also been in fantastic form. He is one of the most underrated lefty mashers in the game, and I mean that seriously. Go take a look at Merrifield's splits. Dude is a robot against lefties. And then on the other side, Brad Keller is a decent, he's like the guys in the Milwaukee San Diego game, right? He's a decent pitcher. He's not great. He's been in good form lately, but that's coming off of him being in terrible form for the couple weeks previous. So I would look at the lefties here. If you can see, Keller is a extreme normal righty with extreme normal splits, which means that a Vogelbach, who is a lefty with extreme normal splits and has been hot lately, Narvaez, who is the same, both of which look fantastic. On top of that, you have Malik Smith and J.P. Crawford in the 1 and 2 hole, who also hit righties pretty well. And then Tom Murphy, who I recommended yesterday, is an extreme reverse splits righty. So while he doesn't get the benefit of Keller's bonus, he gets the benefit of going against a righty and being much, much better against righties. So there are a significant number of bats in this game that I would like, much more so than the pitchers, and I would avoid the pitchers. So right now, like I said, I'm planning on doing another video this evening when the lineups have come out and we can talk about everything in greater detail, especially when we know the weather situation, because the Midwest is going to be a big pain in the ass, especially Chicago and St. Louis. So what I will say is I love Greinke tonight. Greinke at home against a Rockies team that is outside of Coors Field is always a fantastic play. Greinke is someone who could be priced at $10,000 tonight, and he would still be slightly underpriced. So the fact that you can get Greinke and his home park against a Colorado team that doesn't do well on the road, that doesn't do as well against righties. I know Blackman's probably going to get his 3 hits, but I don't really have as much faith in the rest of the lineup doing that. And Vegas doesn't either, for what it's worth. They're only projected to get 3.9 runs. So 3.8 runs, excuse me. No, 3.9 runs, 4.6 to 3.9. So under 4 runs for Colorado. Greinke significantly underpriced for that. I also, and call me crazy here, I really like Adam Plutko against Texas. I don't think that, if he was 8,000, he would be someone I consider today, but he is far underpriced at 5,900. He's someone who, here, let me get it up for you, because I looked at this earlier, and yeah, I don't have that. There we go. I looked at this earlier. He had like one bad game, and that has caused his price to go down. I understand the game conditions in Texas aren't fantastic, but this is a Texas park that is normally 90 to 95 degrees. It's going to be 82. It's normally 80% humidity. It's only going to be 68. The wind is blowing in at 12 miles an hour, which is not a significant upgrade, but enough that, it's not 90 degrees with 90% humidity and the wind blowing out. It's not as bad a weather condition as it normally would be in Texas. So looking at Plutko has made 4 starts so far. 22 DKP, 22 DKP, 20 DKP, and -4 DKP. So I get that the floor is low, right? I get that the floor is low, but he's 5,900 and he's gotten you 20 plus DKP 75% of the starts he's made. That is another huge, huge pricing error that DK has made there. And I'm not saying, again, that Plutko is the best pitcher of the day. I'm not saying he's an ace, and I'm not saying he's going to be 11,000 soon, but he should be 7,000 to 7,500 at least for this. If he was going against a poor team, he would be 8,000, and I would still consider playing him. So the fact that you can get Plutko for 5,900 is an absolute joke. On top of that, Max Fried at 6,100 has been in poor form, but 6,100 is just too cheap for someone of Max Fried's skill. I'd rather have Plutko than Fried at the pricing, but again, both of them are far too cheap. And then when it comes to bats, this one is also pretty clear as far as I'm concerned. The only problem really is, again, the uncertainty. I really do want to take some Cardinals bats today, but I just don't know if that game is really going to play. I really love a few of these stacks today, and one of them. So Scherzer broke his nose. If Scherzer pitches, I don't want to play the Phillies, but if Eric Fedde pitches, who I think is going to get the start, I want to stack the Phillies because the Phillies are priced as if they're batting against Max Scherzer, right? Segura 36, Bryce Harper 38, Kingery 43, Hoskins 4,000, Jay Bruce 4,200. All of these guys are priced as if Scherzer was the starter. So if Scherzer is the starter, they're priced fairly, and I don't really want anything to do with them. But if Scherzer winds up missing because of the broken nose, the Phillies are going to be one of the best stacks of the day, especially for the money. My favorite stack running away today, though, is going to be the Pirates. I hate Jordan Zimmerman. He is a terrible pitcher who does not strike anybody out. He's coming off the IL. I don't think he's rounded into form yet, and the Tigers bullpen is awful on top of all that. So I think that the Pirates offense, this is one of the first times in a month that I have loved the Pirates, but when life gives you lemon, these Pirates are going to try to make some lemonade tonight. So that is where I'm going to be focusing. I also really like, so while ownership's not out yet, I'll preface it. Eduardo Rodriguez is always incredibly highly owned, and I understand that. He's like a GPP darling, right? He's a dude that can get you 0 DKP, or he can strike out 12 dudes and 6 glorious innings. But he gets blown out more than he doesn't when it comes to good matchups. But his ownership always suggests that he is an ace. It's always in the 20 to 25% range. So I do love the Twins because I think that while they're projected well and while they won't be, ignored tonight, they're going to be much less owned than they should be because Eduardo Rodriguez is going to be much more owned than he should be. So that is a quick summary of tonight. I plan on doing another video later on. It might just be for members. It might be Periscope. I really don't know what's going on yet, but I'll figure it out. Otherwise, thank you for joining me for the early slate. Best of luck, everyone. Have a beautiful afternoon, and I'll see y'all later.